Hello and welcome once again to another episode of the SNS Cricket Diaries. I hope you all are doing fine. Today I have with me a very special guest, a renowned podcaster from down under from Australia, Manners or Andrew Menxel. How are you, Manners? How are you doing?
I'm really good, Siddharth. Thanks for having me on.
So you can follow Manners on his cricket podcast, which is called The Cricket Unfiltered. I personally listen to that very frequently, and Manners gives news from across the world and not just from Australia. So do check that out. It will be linked to the description of this video, so you can check that out, guys. And well, Manners, a lot of things to talk about. Primarily, we're going to talk about the WTC final, which is going to take place very soon between Australia and South Africa. But before that, something very tragic that happened yesterday, and I would like to point that out, and I would like to know your opinion, Manners, on that. So, as we all know, yesterday there was a stampede that happened just outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bangalore, and as well as the Vidhan Sabha, which is the state legislature building in Karnataka. I mean, of Karnataka in Bangalore. So, the government was expecting just about 40-50,000 people to turn up. I don't know why the government was expecting so little when they know that cricket is such a huge game here. So when RCB won the IPL, which of course we're going to talk about much later in the show. So RCB, when they won the IPL day after the day before yesterday, so then itself I think there were rumors that there would be an open top bus parade as well as a felicitation ceremony at the Chinnaswamy Stadium, and crowds just started lining up in hordes and hordes. And unfortunately, there was a stampede that happened that of I mean, as of now has taken, officially speaking, taken 11 lives. So very, very sad. Our heart goes out to the families of the people who died. Little did they know that the very game that they absolutely worshipped till a day before would turn out to be a reason for their death the very next day. Manners, your view on this, and what do you think about this being an Australian?
Obviously, just a tragic situation. 11 people, I think, passed away in the stampede. It shouldn't happen. And from the sounds of it, the local government just completely underestimated the response to this, which seems crazy because RCB haven't won the IPL before. You'd imagine there'd be a huge response to that win, and they weren't prepared. And unfortunately, 11 people have lost their lives. So really does put a bit of a dampener on what was such a great win.
Yeah, right. So, as I said, once again, our heart goes out to the families of the members who have passed away. Now, coming to the main topic, so Manners, we are going to discuss the World Test Championship final, the first one to take place without India being in it. Of course, we saw what happened down under, where we were defeated by the Aussies 3-1, and it was a series of not many memorable moments for us, and because of that, we Indians didn't qualify. Yes, we lost to New Zealand at home as well. But now we are here, the Australians and the South Africans. I think most of the Test cricketers of both the squads have joined. South Africa is going to play a warm-up 4-day match against Zimbabwe at Arundel. That's going to be interesting because a lot of the players who are coming off, cold or hot from the IPL need to be prepared into the Test match format as well. So, firstly, Manners, what do you have to say about the WTC final and how the Aussies and South Africans have reached their journey so far a bit?
Oh, I mean, I think it's a great occasion, and the fact that it's being played at Lord's caps off a memorable 2 years for both these Test sides. Australia have had a really dominant 2 years, and no surprises there in the final. But South Africa, it is a bit of a surprise that they're in the final. But I was on a South African podcast earlier, and they pointed out that early on in the cycle, South Africa beat India in this current cycle. So, it's a very fair reflection of, South Africa deserved to be there. They played less games, but the games they played, they were very good in. They have a top draw bowling attack. And I can't wait for the final. Starts Wednesday at Lord's. Australia has the chance to win the title and go back to back World Test champions, whereas South Africa have never won a major ICC tournament. I think they won I don't think they've ever won a major ICC tournament, the men's team. So this could
Well,
be a great
yeah.
occasion for them.
Yeah, I think back in 1998 when the first ever ICC knockout trophy happened, which now is
Mm,
known as the Champions Trophy, they did win. So they do have an ICC tournament under their name, but I guess, yeah, I mean, it's been a long, long
yeah,
time. They've had
yeah.
many heartbreaks over the years. So, Manners, if you talk about the Australian squad, let me just go through the Australian squad for those who don't know. Pat Cummins, of course, is the captain. Scott Boland, a fantastic series against Australia. And remember, he played a key role in the
India.
WTC final against India in 2023 as well. Then we have Alex Carey, Cameron Green, who recently smashed 100 in the county championships, if I'm not wrong.
He made
Josh,
three hundreds, in fact. So he's
yeah,
in great form.
in great form. And I know what you mentioned in your podcast, so I would like you to comment on Cameron Green as well later. Josh Hazelwood, backing off a wonderful IPL for the RCB. Travis Head would be playing in the middle order. Josh Inglis, the wicket keeper. Usman Khwaja, Sam Constas, Matthew Kuhneman, Manas Labuschagne, Nathan Lyon, Steve Smith, Mitchell Stark, and Bo Webster. Bo Webster, interestingly, made his debut in the series against India, so it'll be an interesting squad. So before we move on to the South African squad, I would like Manners for you to analyze this Aussie squad. Will it be more or less what the team that played the fifth Test match against India, or I don't know. I mean, they did play a couple of tests against Sri Lanka after that as well. So where Pat Cummins was not the captain. So how do you see the playing 11 lining up here?
Look, I think it's pretty set, the playing 11. You'll have Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark, Lyon as the bowling attack, Carey batting at seven. You'll have Usman Khawaja opening. You'll have Steve Smith definitely batting at four. I would imagine you'd have Travis Head batting at five because he's done so well there over a number of years. And then there's a little bit of juggling about where people might bat. There's some question marks over Marnus Labuschagne's form, whether he's in the team. Cameron Green will definitely get recalled. So where are they going to put him in the batting lineup? I think they're going to put Cameron Green at number three. And then it's sort of a question mark of who opens the batting. Is it Marnus Labuschagne? Is it Sam Constas? Is it Josh Inglis? Andrew McDonald floated all these options in a recent interview. So I think we know most of the personnel for the Australian side. It's just whether Marnus Labuschagne plays or Sam Constas. And then I think you'll see Bo Webster batting at six as the all-rounder, Green at three and Smith at four, Head at five, and the veteran KHWAJA opening.
Hmm. You pointed out in your podcast as well, Manners, that you don't mind if Josh Inglis opens the batting, although he hasn't opened batting ever in Shield cricket. So, what makes you think that he could be a better opening option than probably Sam Constas?
Yeah, my concern over Sam Constas is he's very inexperienced. He's never played Test cricket in England. You're just dropping him into this World Test Championship final. And although he did very well against India at Boxing Day, I think this is going to be maybe even a more challenging situation of being a final.
Hmm.
So Josh Inglis, he made his test debut in Sri Lanka. He made 100 on debut. He's made 100 in one day cricket. He's made 100 in T20 cricket. Why not send him up the top of the order? Because I think Australia needs someone to counter attack, someone
Hmm.
to be positive and not allow the South African bowlers to settle. So I think it's a good option. It's not a perfect option, and I wouldn't mind it if they went for Sam Constas, but I think Josh Inglis is in great form. We saw in the IPL final he made a slick 39 off 23 balls. So he's just an option. And you look at Marnus Labuschagne and Usman Khawaja. I mean, Siddharth, you've seen them. Australia could be like none for 40 after like 4 hours of batting if those two get stuck.
Yeah, right. Or I guess in this era of baseball and aggressive cricket, I guess you don't mind being 40 for two in about 10 overs rather than 40 for no loss in about 4 hours. Yeah. Um,
Exactly.
Yeah, Menace, if you talk about, I mean, it's interesting that you have actually included both Bo Webster and Cameron Green in the playing
Cameron
11.
Green can't bowl. So Cameron Green can't bowl till next summer. So he's playing purely as a batter. And that's why I've included Bo Webster as well. Cameron Green. Last time he played for Australia, he batted at number 4 and made 170 odd against New Zealand.
Yeah.
So he's solidified his spot as a top order player. McDonald and Cummins have said Smith is batting at 4. So that's why I think Green has to bat at 3. I don't see anywhere else for him. Maybe they slot him down at 6 if they want to keep Marnus at 3 and they drop Webster. But I think they'll want Green at the top of the order.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think Australia need Webster because of his seam bowling. He's been playing county cricket in England. Hazelwood's been playing the IPL. Stark's been playing the IPL. Cummins has been playing the IPL. So they've had no red ball cricket. So you'd want that extra fast bowling option with Webster to take a few of those overs. What if one of the bowlers maybe does a slight injury and they can't bowl? At least you've got Webster as that cover. And in a one-off test match, you probably want that extra option because you don't want a one-off test match to be decided on an injury. You know, what if one of our quicks does a hammy because they've come off no test cricket?
Yeah, and if you look at obviously the pace bowling lineup, there's no doubt that the three veteran fast bowlers would be there. But would you even consider including Scott Boland instead of one of those three fast bowlers, considering the fact that most of them have been on a heavy white ball diet?
No, no, and I'm upset about this. Honestly, as a big Hazelwood fan, there's a notable journalist here, Gerard Waitley, and he's based in Victoria, and that's where Scott Boland's from. He's the only one talking about this. Josh Hazlewood is a much better bowler than Scott Boland. He has almost 300 test wickets and under 25. He's our best all format bowler. You have to play Hazlewood. Cummins is the captain and Stark is your left arm X factor. So it's not a question. The gap between Hazlewood and Boland at test level is still quite large. And that's how lucky we are in Australia to have that sort of bowling attack. But I just can't see Boland playing unless there's an injury.
Yeah. You're looking at South Africa's batting, and we'll come to their lineup. I feel probably if England were the other finalists instead of South Africa, they could have probably looked at Scott Bullen because I feel Mitchell Stark can be a little erratic and he can be taken for runs as has happened in previous test matches as well.
Mm.
But I guess yeah, with South Africa, you can probably look at them not being as attacking as the English batting lineup. So yeah, I think a fair call on that. So yeah, here it is. So that's Menners playing 11 for the WTC final for Australia. Now Menners looking at South Africa's squad. Let me just go through that for our viewers. So of course, Temba Bavuma is the captain. David Bedingham, a fantastic quality batter at the top of the order. Corbin Bosch is there as the all-rounder. Tony Dezorzi, again another top order left-handed player. Marco Janssen, their bowling all-rounder and that left armour that they would require. Keshav Maharaj would be their lead spinner. Then Aiden Makram, Rian Mulder. They have Senuran Mutosami as I guess he is being listed as a batting all-rounder, but I guess he's more of a left-arm spinner if I'm not wrong. Lungi Ngidi, Dane Patterson, Kagiso Rabada, Ryle Rickelton, Tristan Stubbs, and Kyle Virine. So this is their squad for the team. So how do you see their 11 shaping up?
I think they've got a dangerous team. A little bit weak in the batting, not as strong as Australia. I think with the batting, they don't quite have the experience. We're very lucky, but a very good bowling attack. If they play Rabada, Ngidi, and Janssen, that's a really good attack. If they add in Maharaj and a couple of the all-rounders, that could be very difficult for Australia. Rabada always lifts against Australia. So I think they pose a real threat to Australia. And then you pointed out Bellingham and Stubbs. They've got some aggressive batters that, if they have a day out, could turn a test match in a couple of hours. So I'm not sure exactly what team they'll go with yet, whether they'll even play Maharaj or stick to the all-rounders and the quick bowlers, but they certainly pose a few threats. And someone like Rabada can win a test match in a session.
Right, and I mean, you mentioned about Maharaj. Probably he may not even play, but I guess they would need one spinner at least to just change the pace a bit. So yeah, that's what I feel. But again, Australia is going in as heavy favorites. Manners, they have the experience both in the batting as well as the bowling. South Africa's batting, as you rightly mentioned, is a weaker suit
Mm.
than their bowling. So, what do you think South Africa needs to do? I guess I believe they are going as underdogs in this final. So, what do you think South Africa need to do to be able to upset the Aussies?
God, it's almost the sort of toss you want to lose if you're South Africa. You'd love to bowl first if you're South Africa and try and knock Australia over while there's a bit of juice in the pitch.
Yeah.
That could be one way South Africa approaches it. As I said before, Rabada, Ngidi, Janssen, when they get going, that they can be as devastating as any attack.
Hmm.
So if I'm Bavuma, it might be a good toss to lose. Say Australia bats first, but you get some favourable bowling conditions. If you can knock Australia over on that first day and maybe get a first innings lead and control the game. But Australia's going to fight. But this is the one great thing, and we saw it last time when Australia played India 2 years ago. That a one-off Test match to take the title is so unique, and South Africa could do it. They could just surprise Australia and snatch the title. They want this. They want this badly. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think it'll come down to their bowling, and obviously they'll need some batters to stand up. And it
Right.
will be how Australia performs after not having played Test cricket since the beginning of the year against Sri Lanka.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, they could probably catch the Aussies cold over there. Um, Menace, what we talked about the squads now. So this test match is going to be played at the Lords Cricket Ground,
Mm.
June, early summer in England. So how do you think the pitch and the conditions would turn out to be, and whom would they probably support more?
Yeah, well, you mentioned it, Lords. I think this is the first time the Australian Test team's back there since that infamous Johnny Bairstow stumping
Yeah.
in 2023. So
Yeah.
Australia will have to be careful walking through the long room after what happened last time. But from all reports, the weather is quite sunny and
Hmm.
warm in England at the moment.
Hmm.
So that would mean the conditions would be fairly dry. So yeah, the ICC have control of the wicket. I had a look at the forecast. There's a little bit of rain around in London over the next few days, but I imagine it won't be a particularly green wicket.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I was in UK a few days ago, and London it was pretty warm as well. So yeah,
Oh,
Menace,
good.
when we talk about you mentioned South Africa having probably never won a major ICC tournament, and they've come pretty close in the last couple of years. They made the final of the 2024 T20 World Cup. For the first time, they won a semi-final of an ICC tournament, albeit against Afghanistan in that tournament. But yeah, that was a win. They reached the semi-finals in 2023 ODI World Cup after I think a few years of not being able to make it. Now they're in the final. What do you think would this win, if they win, would this victory mean for the South African cricket as a whole?
Well, I think this will be a really important win for South African cricket. They probably need it more than Australian cricket does. Cricket in South Africa has a lot of challenges,
Hmm.
financial challenges, and wouldn't it be a great boost for Cricket South Africa if they had the world champion Test side? We know
Hmm.
that they don't play a lot of Test cricket at home during the summer because of their T20 competition. So this would be a huge boost to them if they could win it, and it would be such a, as I said, a great sort of money injection to the country, but also it's a great story because no one wants them to win, no one wants them to be in the final. India and England want to change the format so this can't happen again. So these are the underdogs. They've been basically pushing uphill to get there. They've done it. And yeah, I think it would mean a lot to South African cricket if they could, win this World Test Championship.
Absolutely, absolutely, Manners. And talking about players and especially the Aussie squad, we mentioned about Usman Khwaja and Steve Smith. Again, when the Australian summer was going on, a lot of people were baying for Khwaja's blood. They just wanted him to be out, and but he still, I think, played against Sri Lanka as well. So, how do you see now? It's a natural end of a cycle. Nowadays, I think with the WTC on, you're looking at a 2-year period, and part of a like a kind of a swan song for many Test players, as it happened with Ross Taylor in the 2023 World Test Championship final. So, do you see Usman Khwaja and Steve Smith carrying on after this cycle?
Well, it's an interesting one. I think Usman Khawaja will play on until the end of the home Ashes series. I think that's his stated aim. So that would be this World Test Championship final, the tour of the West Indies, and then the home Ashes summer. But there are rumours that Steve Smith might retire at the end of this final,
Mhm.
at the end of this Test match.
Okay.
He was floated on Eddie Cowan's podcast. He obviously knows some of the cricketers involved. Steve Smith at the most recent Champions Trophy retired at the end of the semi-final. He made no announcement until after the game. So it's not out of the realms of possibility that at the end of this World Test Championship final,
Hmm.
Smith announces he's retiring. And I was trying to sort of think of a reason why he would or why he wouldn't. If he's just getting a bit sick of it, if he doesn't want to go to the West Indies and play the three tests, if he's done, he's no reason to stay for the Ashes next summer. He's played three home Ashes series. He's actually played in four if you count 2010-11, but he came in late. He's played three home Ashes series. He's won 5-0, 4-0, 4-0. He's got nothing to prove. So if he wants to retire at the end of this World Test Championship final, I think it's a good time. I would be heartbroken because I've loved watching him play, but it's a real possibility.
Yeah. So I think, and looking at Khwaja's form, and you said that he would like to be till the end of the Ashes down under. But do you think he wants a place? Looking at his performance in the last couple of years.
Look, there's a school of thought that he just got boomered last summer, that anybody opening the batting against Jasprit would have struggled. He went to Sri Lanka and made 200. Good judges like myself and former cricketers think that Khawaja just struggles against the extra pace. So obviously Bumrah bowls quick and that late release. So I do think Khawaja might struggle against Rabada and the South African quicks, but he had a great series against Sri Lanka. They want to back him. I personally think he could retire sooner rather than later. But let's see how he goes. I think he could struggle against the very quick bowling, but you can't deny his durability. He had a great tour of Sri Lanka, and you can't keep a good man down,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
or him.
Yeah. Now moving ahead or away from the WTC, we recently saw a couple of retirements manners. One was, of course, Glenn Maxwell retiring from the ODI format, and of course, Henrik Klassen, so who has retired from international cricket. Period. Glenn Maxwell, a fantastic ODI batter, probably the architect of the greatest ODI innings ever played. So he ends with figures of 149 games, 3,990 runs at an average of just about 34. His highest score being that magnificent 201 not out against Afghanistan in the 2023 World Cup, 400s, 23 50s. I guess if we look at the legacy of Glenn Maxwell, the ODI batter, of course, winning two World Cups with the Australian team. I mean, any Australian turns up and wins the World Cup. So, how do you see the his legacy in ODI cricket for Australia?
I think he leaves a really big legacy and a vital member of two World Cup wins. And, you've just done it there. And I'm not trying to be rude, but, everyone forgets about his bowling. You didn't even mention his bowling. He's
Hmm.
taken 77 wickets at one day level. But the thing is, Siddharth, he was vital in those two World Cups being that spinner. So in
Yes.
2015, Australia didn't play a spinner. It was Maxwell did some spin bowling duties. They basically played the quick bowlers and the all rounders. And then in 2023, they played Zampa and just Maxwell as the second spinner. And because he was able to bowl so well, and if you look at his record, he conceded under a run a ball in his whole one day career, which is very good bowling in the middle overs. You add that to his very good contributions with the bat. He made an immense contribution. And I think where he really found his feet was when he was sort of slotted in at that number 7 spot. They tried to make him into a top order batsman. It never worked. But when he slotted into that 6, 7 spot and was the finisher, that was when he was at his best.
Yeah, I think very well mentioned the point about his bowling because if I remember now, 2023 when Australia lost the first two games, I guess there were a few people who actually were amused by the fact that they were going in with just one spinner and Glenn Maxwell. If you look at the World Cup final in 2023, he picked up the crucial wicket of Rohit Sharma. Of course, that was a fantastic catch by Travis Head, but ultimately it was the credit goes to Maxwell as well for bowling. So yeah, of course, a fantastic ODI bowler as well. And I guess some of his greatest innings have come when the Australians have needed that impact in the middle to lower order. So I do believe that one innings against Pakistan in the 2015 World Cup, although Shane Watson was the main guy who held the fort, but just when I guess they needed that finishing kick to really get Chase in comfortable zone, I think Glenn Maxwell hit out for a few runs there. So that was an important innings which I remember. And of course, that brilliant 100 against Sri Lanka in the 2015 World Cup is also another great knock. Of course, we talk about his 2023 heroics. In fact, he did score the fastest 100 in ODI World Cup against Netherlands in that World Cup. So yeah, some wonderful innings, stellar innings to remember against India as well. I remember he has played some wonderful innings, and even more incredible in T20s, but in ODIs as well. Looking at Henrik Klassen, Manners, he's announced his retirement from international cricket altogether. I guess he's just about 34. Probably had a few more years to give. Um, I mean, why I wanted to bring this point out was that now we are seeing increasingly more and more retirements being done at that age between 35 to 37, when probably an era ago they would probably go up to 38, 39 as well. So do you think somewhere, we are seeing the effects of the leagues sort of coming into play and players retiring maybe 1 or 2 years earlier than they would usually do?
Well, I think we're absolutely seeing that. So there's obviously a very viable option now for players. So I thought Glenn Maxwell, picked the perfect time to retire. But Heinrich Klaassen, it does seem a little early. He just seemed to be really finding his feet at international level in the last few years, really dominating. And South Africa need him in white ball cricket, but he's now retired. And I do think this is an issue with Cricket South Africa. I'm sure there's disputes around contracts or pay, and he's just thought, stuff it. I know there's a new coach as well who's taken over the team and he's making more demands on the players. And I think Clarkson has just thought, well, bugger it. I'm just going to go on the T20 circuit, make a lot more money, be a lot happier. And that is the option now for players that if they're not happy with the national setup, if they're good enough, there's so many T20 leagues, they can make a healthy living.
Yeah, in fact, the South African coach, mentioned just yesterday that he was sort of caught unaware by his retirement. He hasn't had any conversation with Klassen. So yeah, I guess a few issues for the South African Cricket Board to sort out over there if they want to retain their players for a longer period of time. So coming towards the end of this fantastic chat with Manners,
No,
Manners, did you see the RCB PBK's final? What was your take on RCB winning after 18 years?
well, it was absolutely fantastic. It's been a run of these miracle sporting victories. Big Ange delivered Spurs a title, lots of English football. Anyway, the main thing was it was a great IPL final. It was a tense final. RCB looked really nervous, and there was a lot on it for Australian fans because Josh Hazlewood, part of the RCB team, Tim David had made a huge contribution to getting them to the final throughout the tournament. But then on the Punjab team you had Ponting, the coach, Inglis and Stoinis playing. And I thought RCB were a little conservative with the bat. Kohli 43 off 35. I thought, geez, 190 is a bit short. Maybe it's not going to be enough runs. And they just had enough runs in the end. They bowled really well. I think it was Krunal Pandya in those middle overs was just exceptional. He was probably the difference between the two sides. He strangled Punjab in that run chase, and they could never recover.
Yeah, right, right. I think just Yes, of course, I do believe Virat Kohli played a slightly slow knock, but I guess the crucial knock, I would say, came from Jitesh Sharma, right at the fag end, scoring 24 of 10 balls. Of course, Liam Livingston also scored 25 of 15, as well as Romario
Mm.
Shepherd scoring 17 of 9. Because if those three players had not scored the runs at that strike rate that they did, they would have probably ended up making about 170, 175. So I guess those few runs did end up. Although Matthew Hayden did say right at the end when he was asked that are they is it a low score, and he said it's 30 runs under par. But somehow the RCB
He's an
managed to.
idiot. It's 30 runs. 220 is not par. Come on, Haydos, pull your head in. I know he's an Aussie, but I thought 200 was par. I thought, and then even in that final, you think, 190, 200, that's always going to be defendable. But yeah, it was a very good game. And what beautiful scenes when, Coley was on the ground afterwards and he
Yeah,
had all the ex-RCB players like De Villiers and Chris Gale. It
yeah,
was a really wonderful win and such a shame it's been marred by tragedy afterwards. And hopefully it's a wake-up call. And I've been reading that the BCCI have, although they had nothing to do with this, I think it's really a wake up call that they can't let this happen again.
yeah,
And you want fans to be able to celebrate these great wins. I brought up Spurs in winning the Europa Cup in the soccer, but there was 200,000 people there at their
yeah.
street parade. So if they get 200,000 people, RCB are going to get way more than that.
Yeah, true. That's true. That's true. The government should have anticipated a bit more. But yeah, we've spoken about that. So, Manners, coming towards the end, just one question. Should Virat Kohli now retire from IPL as well?
From IPL as well.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think MS Dhoni should. I think I'm not sure about Kohli, but I think Dhoni should.
Yeah, yeah. I heard your podcast the other day, and you really went after MS Dhoni. But yeah, I think I guess those are the two marketable and sellable players left in India until unless I guess someone really comes up from the new generation, which we are hoping Shubman Gill will. But let's see how that pans out. But Menace
Siddharth,
is
I can tell you in my wise opinion, they always new talent comes through,
mm,
always new stars come through. Everybody is replaceable, especially a beautiful country like India that produces so many cricketers. And that's why Dhoni's got to be the big guy and say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to give
mm,
my spot to a youngster, and I'll be in the dressing room. He can still turn up to the games. I mean, he just needs to walk out and wave, and the crowd will be happy. He doesn't even need to
yeah.
play.
Yeah, that's true. That is true, Menace. So, well, let's see how what turns out for CSK next year. But thank you so much, Menace, for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you
Great to
over.
talk.
And you can again let me tell my viewers that you can follow Menace on his podcast, The Cricket Unfiltered. It's the link is the description is there in the link below, and you can check that out. And Menace,
I'm going to be doing daily episodes during the World Test Championship final. So if you want to
so
keep up with the game, tune in.
absolutely, absolutely. Tune into that. And we will do a preview of the India England Test series also soon. So please do wait for that as well. And until then, take care. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.